Hey everybody, it's Mike from Here the Watchman. I am are you kidding me? I am off the hook. Winner, chicken dinner. Crazy excited today to be here on another episode of Government Cheese with my brother David Paxton. And today we have with us none other than Carl Tykrib and Brian and Audrey. Audrey, let me tell you something. So Audrey she has an email address that's Audrey RV. Now, when I met Audrey and Brian, I thought that because she had that moniker, Audrey RV, that she and Brian traveled all over the country in an RV, just going to conferences one after another. And that's not that far off the truth, man. They go to a lot of conferences. Uh, Audrey, Brian, Carl, thank you for joining us today.
Glad to be with you.
Yeah.
So
good to be here, good to be anywhere.
Yeah. And look at Brian.
Hence
look
the
at
RV.
you. Brian's lost like a ton of weight. I mean, and he's got this the beard thing going on there. I don't know. He's looking pretty. I don't know. He could maybe be the next Russell Crowe. What do you think?
Wow.
Whoa.
I think it could replace Russell Crowe.
Whoa, even better.
I think he could. So, David, let's talk a little bit today. We're gonna talk to Carl and Audrey and Brian about their recent experience going to Burning Man. Now, folks, Burning Man. Who goes to Burning Man?
Yeah, what's up with that?
What's up with that? Who
what
goes
is Burning Man
Why would
anyway?
you go there? But the thing is, the amazing thing is, these three people went there to preach the gospel. They went there to talk to drug addicts and naked people and all that stuff. And I want to go next year to talk to the
burning people.
Yeah, and burning. But I want to go to
if you go, Mike,
I want to talk to the naked people.
Then they won't have anyone else come.
So let's just look at this. Carl, I'm going to throw it at you first. Why in the world would you go to Burning Man?
Why wouldn't you go to Burning Man? It's where the world is gathering. And contrary to what a lot of people think, it's not a gathering of naked hippies in the desert. You don't meet any hippies out there. You meet people who are professors of economics. You meet people who are involved in the tech industry. You meet entrepreneurs. You meet your neighbors' kids who are coming just to check it out. You're meeting people from every walk of life and from literally around the world. I know that we were at a few workshops, and one of the workshops, the question was asked, who here in this room is from outside the United States? And Audrey and I were both in the same workshop. Hands went up, and the majority of people in the room weren't from America. The majority were from around the world. So it is literally a global gathering place. And that's important for people to realize. This is not, the clickbait, everybody's nude running around. It's a great big orgy in the desert of 70,000 people. Yes, there's 70 to 80,000 people. Yes, there's nudity to some extent. I think Basil, who's a talk show host, summed it up pretty good when he gave an interview with us out in the desert by saying, it's more nudity than you're used to, but less than you would expect.
Yeah.
It's a good way of putting it. And so we're there doing research, but we're there also when opportunity arises to be able to talk to people about the Christian faith. And Brian was really good. Brian had people literally walking up to him and just striking conversation.
It was the beard.
It's the beard.
It was the beard.
It's totally the beard.
It's
the beard.
And I mean, the first few days is spent just orienting yourself, and honestly, you don't really end up engaging in a lot of deeper conversations until typically mid to later part of the week, because frankly, you're just trying to figure the place out. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't that we were inundated with people checking out our camp or wanting to talk to us, but wherever we had those opportunities, it was good. And so, yeah, I'm glad we went.
Well, that's kind of what your book is all about too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Now, for Brian and Audrey, okay, you guys were virgins. This was your first time. Yeah, right. I mean, this was your
Burning
first.
virgins.
Right. Okay, let's not get into that. Okay, so this was your first time going to a Burning Man, and somehow Carl convinced you to go. What was it that possessed the two of you to go, and what did you find?
Well, this has been the fourth adventure we've done with Carl. So we now it's a habit, right? And you know how hard they are to break. So who knows what we're going to do next time? But you know, really, I didn't expect to go. I didn't think we were going to get tickets. So I wasn't really, you know, taking it that serious. And then all of a sudden we got tickets, and then the panic set in. And then it was really tough to get ready because it's a long ways and there's a lot of prep work that you need to do. And Audrey worked so hard on all that. So it was awesome for her. But really we went there to see it, and we had been to a regional burn before up here. So we knew kind of what to expect. But there's nothing that can, you know, prepare you for the scale of the big burn down there. Like, it is massive, and the desert is harsh. And it's a lot different than what you'd think it would be. And even the last night there, Carl let me lead, and I totally took us in the wrong direction. I totally got lost. So the orientation didn't really work that well. We're out in the playa, and who knows where we would have ended up if they would have kept following me. So it was really, you know, amazing. The scale is massive. So
Now, what was
I
it
knew it was
though?
going to happen, Brian. I
mean, Brian, it was like what? Like you guys had to drive like I don't know, 22 hours or something to get down there. Is that correct?
Yeah. Carl had to go further.
Well, yeah, because Carl lives in the boondocks like we do.
Yes.
But what? Okay, plug your ears. Plug your ears.
I went because we are boots on the ground researchers, and you can't know what you're talking about unless you actually go and see what you're talking about.
Yeah,
we
that's
went and
the point I wanted to
experience
make.
the other side. And when you do
that fits right into your ministry, right?
Yeah, it does actually. When you go and do boots on the ground, you see the other side. You, instead of, you know, I'm not knocking this, but instead of sitting behind YouTube formulating opinions, you go and you see that they're real people, that they're people just like you and me, that they're broken, that they're hurt, that they need Jesus, and that's why we went. That's what we went to do.
Well, I mean, let's look at this. I mean, Carl, you know, I mean, you're a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
You know, at least we think you are. I mean, you could be faking it, but you know, what is it? What is it that is going on in the world? I'm not going to say America because, you know, like you said, this was like a world event. What is going on in the world today that people are so lost?
Boy, you know, something that fits into the big question too of why the burn. You know, what is the draw? Why is it even happening? And a lot of times people have been asking, even people who've been going for a long time, asking, you know, what is this really about? What's really happening here? I think, and I break this down in my book. You're seeing generational change. We have moved away from Christendom. In the 17th century, we began to move into the era of modernity that said science and the natural world is all we have. And then that led us up into World War I to World War II. The basically the last kind of the symbol of modernity was the atom bomb going off, and we realized that modernity had stripped the human soul of any meaning or any purpose. We had ripped out any type of value. But we didn't go back to Christianity. We weren't interested in doing that. And so we entered a phase of postmodernism. And postmodernism essentially says, there are no real answers. All we have are questions. We're going to live in the question. We're going to try to find our own morality. We're going to try to find our own way forward. We reject Christianity. We reject materialism. We're now looking for something else, but we don't know what it is. We just don't know. And so we're going to live in that constant question mark as we fumble around, and basically now the crowd dictates where meaning is derived from. But along the way, there is this hunger. There still is this hunger, and we can't escape it, for meaning, for purpose. There is this hunger for something bigger than ourselves. And so events like Burning Man help to fill that hunger. I call it re-enchantment. There is this sense of wonder that's now been rediscovered. Here, all of a sudden, is the allure of some type of meaning, some type of purpose. We don't even know what it is, but we're going to go because hopefully there's some way it fills a void in our life. Listen, I was talking 3 weeks ago when the event opened, as Brian and Audrey were driving in. I was fortunate to have a work access pass to get me in 4 days early. The Sunday that the event was had opened up, I had sat for 2 hours with a young lady who was European Union liaison officer to the U.S. federal government. Okay, that's the kind of people who go to the burn, by the way. All right. And she was there basically because she was looking for some value and for some meaning. She was looking for purpose in life. She was looking for direction. She was looking for something, and she wasn't even really sure how to properly frame it. And so she was hoping the burn would be able to help her see the direction for her own life. Now she has her own career. She's got a big career. It's a big shot career. But personally, she was looking for something still. And that kind of just goes along with this whole idea of re-enchantment, the loss of meaning and purpose, how modernity has stripped the soul, postmodernity left us with questions, and we're not going to turn to Christianity because we rejected all of that a long time ago. So now what do we have left? Well, we have places like the burn and people searching for meaning.
Hey, Brian, I wanted to ask you, how do you see this fitting in with the coming one world religion?
Well, that's really what they're steering for. That's what they're going for. But really, it's all about Burning Man. We went to some workshops, and it was all about feelings. There's no faith. It's all feelings. Carl and I were in a workshop, and it was to embrace the darkness. Embrace your dark side. Let it in. And this lady and man are talking at the front, and everyone has to get comfortable and lay on their backs and visualize what the dark side is for you, and invite
demons in.
Yeah, and really that's what it was. She says, open yourself up to your dark side. The dark side has power, and that's what this workshop was about. We didn't know that at the time. Yeah, it was really scary. We didn't know it was an interactive workshop. So Carl and I are in there, and all of a sudden, okay, stand up and walk around and find someone to talk to and do this with them. And so Carl and I, joined up as much as we could, as often as we could, but we did have to, mingle and make it look like we were participating. So we did get stuck with some other people, but it was interesting. And then the people that are running it, they said, well, embrace your childhood. So this grown woman is bouncing around on the floor like a toddler and saying, please help me, and I'm scared, and all this, and it was just unbelievable, a whole role-playing thing, and it was just, I don't know, weird, creepy, dark, and I didn't enjoy it.
Like
Brian, Brian, you bring something up that's very important, okay? You bring up that there's the dark side. Now, many of us as Christians are afraid to confront that. We're afraid to go out there and be in front of the dark side. Why do you think it's important for us as Christians, for true believers in Christ and the remnant body? Why do you think it's important for us to confront that?
Confront it. Well, we need to realize the danger in it. We need to realize and recognize that it is the dark side. We don't want to live in the dark side. We don't want to go there. We don't want to embrace it. We don't want to invite it into us, right? That happens all by itself. We don't have to invite it in. We're sin creatures, right? We have it in us already. Why do I want to have more of it? I want to get rid of it, right? I want to be renewed. I don't want to
live to drive it out.
Now, Audrey, let's look at you, okay? I don't mean to point at you, but you've got these three jocks here right now These three guys, these men
With
of
gray
God,
beards.
yeah, with gray beards.
Gray
We're old.
beards.
I mean, hopefully I'll live to wake up tomorrow morning. But Audrey, what was the experience like for you as a woman? Okay, as a woman being at Burning Man.
There's a whole other dynamic if you're a woman going to Burning Man. One of the principles is, let me just read it in their own words.
Oh, you're busted. You can't do that.
Yeah, oh yeah, I can. Yeah, I can.
You're so busted, girl.
No, I can. I want to do it and I can't even find it.
Yeah.
Radical self-expression. Okay, radical self-expression. So we're supposed to be able to go to Burning Man and just be who we are. Dress who we are, act as who we are, all of that. But as a woman, there's still that standard that you have to have this burner body, that you have to be perfectly dressed, that you have to portray a certain image. And I found that very difficult, actually. A guy can go there and just be a guy the same as he is out in the real world, but a girl has to go and have this other, persona.
What is that
It's
persona?
very hard and stressful to see and to know that I'm not there for that. And I was comfortable, but it was still hard to see. Also, as a woman, the porta potties are an issue. Yeah, there's just so many other.
It's a
No
lot
running water?
easier for guys.
But some of the porta potties were decorated
Oh, yes.
so beautifully.
Oh, that's cool. You got a
Like
decorated
glamping.
porta potty. Yeah, right. Cool. So,
The,
Carl,
the, the
Carl,
disco theme porta
let
potty.
me ask you this.
Jungle theme.
Carl, let me ask
Yes.
you this. Okay. On a serious note, you chose to go to Burning Man, and you've done it, I don't know, 3, 4 years. But you've chose to go there. You ran into a deer on one of your trips. That totaled your car. You go through all of this. Why?
Well,
For
yeah,
free
let me
deer
ask you a
meat.
question. Yeah, free deer meat. Yeah, no, you didn't want that deer when I was done with it. um, myself, I'm a researcher first, in that I went trying to understand the burn from its social, spiritual, cultural perspective. Um, for the last, oh golly, 25, coming on almost 30 years, I've been writing and researching on world transformation. So I've gone to United Nations events. Okay, I've been to world government events. I've gone to interfaith things. I dragged Brian and Audrey with me to the Parliament of World Religions last year. And so, I'd spent a lot of time working through, you could almost call it more the official side of globalism, this idea of creating one world, of being a part of one world. And when you go to the United Nations, or you go to global governance events, or even interfaith events, it's more formal. There's a sense of, here's the agenda. The agenda has been pre-assigned. Everybody's coming in with a position. There's more of an understanding that this is something that is very formal. It's more like the business end of it. But then as I continued in the research work I was doing up until probably, I knew about the burn around the year 2000, but I think it was like 2008 before I started going, okay, if globalization is as entrenched as it is, and it is, there has to be a cultural component. There has to be a cultural, artistic aspect to it. And so that's why I went to the burn and began to study the burn, in the very first place, was try to understand, all right, how is this played out in that cultural sense. Here's the thing, though. When I first went, back in 2017, what really struck me was that, as I have been to so many other events where it's formal and the agendas are already preset, what was happening at the burn was more almost a sense of globalism, DIY. It's do it yourself. It's being played out and lived out in real time. It's being experimented with in real time. It's a sandbox. And so it had more like an open source feel to it, and that makes sense, being the fact that it really is kind of the unofficial United Nations of Silicon Valley. So whereas the UN and world federalism and interfaithism is more closed source, this has a more of an open source sense to it, or a feel to it, which is, for me, I find that really intriguing, because what you're seeing is how people are reacting in real time, how they are now experiencing this, what they're taking away from it. And as you rub shoulders in that environment, you just see how, especially, and Brian, you brought that out, the experiential, the feeling side of it, how that is so important. In fact, it doesn't really matter sometimes what truth might be in their world. Facts don't matter. It's the feelings. It's that experience. Brian got into it with a guy at an art display out in the deep playa that was
No,
vilifying the
Brian, are you
petroleum
kidding
industry.
me? Brian got into it? Oh,
Yeah,
please.
vilifying the petroleum industry. And I mean, the guy had no arguments for Brian. All he could do was start screaming at Brian. I mean, literally started screaming at Brian.
Oh, you're doing something right then.
Yeah.
Language we can't, use on the air. But I mean, it exemplified, all right, don't give me facts. Don't give me data. Don't let me work this thing out in something where there's reason and understanding. Don't dare transgress my feelings and transgress my, what I ideologically hold to.
I'm
So,
sure after my talk, he
Brian and
walked
Audrey-
out of the burn. He didn't want to use petrol anymore.
Yeah, walked,
Yeah,
not
walked
drove.
out, not drove.
Yeah.
He didn't appreciate the fact that I told him the Burning Man wouldn't be there if it wasn't for oil. Like how much gas,
Yeah.
nothing would burn. They use gas to burn everything there.
How'd they get those
Nothing would burn,
airplanes
still
in?
be there, waiting
Yeah.
for
No,
something.
hey,
Yeah.
listen. Okay, so here's the deal. Okay, so you got to imagine this, folks. I love my wife with all my heart. Okay.
We all do.
Yeah, you do too, right? Right? You
Yep.
love her too, right? I mean, Jeannie's like an amazing person. I can't imagine driving with her for like 22 hours to go in the middle of the desert and to preach the gospel.
Yeah, let
So-
alone walking.
Yeah, no, I mean, let alone that, right? I mean, so Brian and Audrey, how the heck did you guys do that?
Oh, it was good. We're good. Yeah, it's all good.
What happened
Yeah,
with
those
the,
two are like so nice. It's like,
Yeah, no, I
don't
know.
think
I
they
mean,
ever argue.
Audrey's always like that. Audrey's always really sweet and nice and all that stuff.
I
I
got one
think-
question for him though. Brian and Audrey, what was the impact on you with the last two services? What, the Burning Man service and then the temple service or something like that?
It was really interesting to see so many hurt and grieving people. One day, fire is like a ritual. So one day they're celebrating the ritual. The next day they're grieving through the ritual. It was really interesting for me.
Yeah, for me,
Wow.
the burn is a party. The Burning Man is a party. It's a huge party,
Yeah.
and all the art cars are around, parked around. It's a big area, and there's I don't know how many tens of thousands of people show up for the Burning, and they're all out there early. People and start all around 100. Okay, so Saturday they burn the man. It's a festival. Sunday, really what it is the temple burn. Everyone's there. The art cars again are surrounded the whole area, but nobody's making a sound. There's no loud music going on. There's nothing going on. Everybody's sitting in the front again. It's quiet. You could hear a pin drop. It's unbelievable. Well, they light it on fire, and it was a big fire this year. Ashes were falling on people. People were getting burned if they were on the wrong side of the wind there. And it was a massive thing. But again, everyone is somber. The whole mood is totally 100% opposite from the burn of the man. So it's really unbelievable to see, like, I don't know, 20 or 30,000 people sitting there, and no one's making a sound. It's just ominous. It's so you can really tell that people are hurting, people are searching, and that's really why we went, was to touch some of those lives. The people we sat beside, the people we talked to. After the burn, the big burn, a lady came up to me and talked to me for half an hour. And it was unbelievable, right? Everyone was wondering what the heck is this gorgeous girl doing talking to Brian for that long. It just doesn't make sense. But
No, wait, people were actually talking to Brian?
Brian.
yeah,
Well, they saw his wife and said, well, there's
No
something
way.
good in there.
No, I can see them talking to his wife, but I can't see them talking to him. Did you have that beard then?
yeah, it's a beard.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Then,
But
well,
you know,
that
she
explains
was hurting, and she was really interested in what we said. I told her about our camp. I told her about Act 17, and actually, you know, after half an hour, Audrey came up to make sure I wasn't gonna leave or whatever. And you know, all the other team members were there. Carl was there. Everyone was watching me. What the heck is Brian doing? And then she reached in her little fanny pack and pulled out a card and said, "Well, I'm really interested in what you said. I'm really interested to learn more about the Act 17 part and Carl's book," because I told her about that. And you know, she gave me her card, so I sent her an email, and I haven't got an answer back. Maybe I won't. I have no idea, but that's why we were there, was to talk to these people and reach out and touch them and show them there's another way.
Now, Carl, I gotta ask you, what in your right mind were you thinking when you invited these two to go to Burning Man with you?
I'm so glad. I'm so glad they came. I mean, they came with me to Freezer Burn, the regional event. They came with me to the Parliament of World Religions, and it's good. It's really good. I love the two of them, and just spending time at the burn. It was great to have them along as part of the team this year. I hope we can do it again. I really do.
Well, they're kind of special. I mean, I'm not going to admit this, okay, publicly, but I'm going to publicly admit that Brian and Audrey
And
are
keep it a
two.
secret, people.
Okay,
Yeah.
shh, shh, shh. I mean, Brian and Audrey are two of the most incredible people that I have ever met. Brian reached out to me and helped me through something very difficult that I was going through. And he and his wife are just amazing. You guys want to come out, you want to meet them. Audrey, what is your website again?
remnantonlinefellowship.org.
Well, you got to go there, you know, I mean, because she doesn't do this for fun. She does it for Jesus. And it's an amazing website. It's an amazing thing that they're doing. And Brian, I mean, he won't ever tell you this, but Brian's sort of an artist. He does some metal work that you guys ought to check into. It's off the hook, crazy, crazy, winner, chicken dinner kind of stuff.
Thanks.
Well, Carl, let me ask you this. You know, I mean, again, you've gone to this several years now. You are one of the most prolific researchers out there for the body of Christ. What do you really think Burning Man is all about?
Social change.
Mhm.
It's about social change. It's about creating a new ethos, a new sense of direction. I'll give you just an example of how this kind of fits. And to me, this speaks quite loud. Last year, 2018, I was at a workshop where one of the leading gurus in cryptocurrency was giving a talk on the new civilization. And he broke it down this way, and I'm just paraphrasing, okay? This is done in the course of roughly 2 hours. And by the way, Brian and Audrey and myself were at a workshop along with, I think Jen was with us too, a workshop where the same individual gave a little bit of a spiel too, as they were talking about where the world will be in 2030 and how they're taking the world there by 2030. Really, really interesting, because it really dived into politics, the religious, the cultural, social side of it. But at this workshop in 2018, this particular individual outlined how What we need is a new civilization built on 4 new building blocks. The first one being a new spirituality. Get rid of the old, and find a new spirituality, an Eastern, uh, feminine, mystical type spirituality. Then we need a new social ethic. We need some type of a new social contract, and that is what the burn is providing. The burn is providing a sandbox to be able to play with what that new social dynamic, the social relationships will look like. And it is literally that. It is that sandbox, that place to play and see, okay, how can we do a new civilization? Then he talked about how what we need is a new digital currency or a cryptocurrency that is attached through smart contracts, reflecting how your buying and selling behavior reflects blocks 1 and blocks 2. Does it reflect the proper new planetary attitude and the new planetary spirituality? What we need underneath that is artificial intelligence to run it all. I mean, there's all kinds of ways you could look at that and argue back and forth what works, what doesn't work. That's beside the point. It was his vision. It was a vision that he was presenting at the burn, saying, look, at the burn, this is what we're talking about. Ultimately, we're talking about a new civilization. And the workshop we were going to, Brian and Audrey and myself, when on the question of 2030, it was all about finding and creating that fork in civilization, to fork civilization. At some point, we need to break it away. And Audrey, thank you for sending me the audio from that. Yesterday, I went through it again, and again, my jaw was on the ground with what some of the things that were being said. But the moderator opened it up to the fact that we were getting rid of his world, and we were entering an era of her world, that we would now enter into the divine feminine, and we'd be doing this as a global civilization. We're now working towards a planetary society, a planetary civilization. So when I'm at the burn, I'm seeing the party side of it. You can't ignore that. It's all around you. The party side is definitely there. The sexuality is all there. There's all these different layerings to it. There's a libertarian side, and then there's also this leftist side, and there's the social change agents, and the fact that this is a place for them to network and to vision and literally to play act what the new world will look like in their view. And that's the importance of being there, to be able to see that and then being willing to document it.
Excellent.
David, what do you have to say?
Wow, there's a lot in there. I see that all of that just points to the fact that we're closer to the return of Yeshua HaMashiach coming back to get us in the harpazo. It's the old saying, when you see the Christmas ornaments in the store, Thanksgiving's around the corner. So I see if those things are happening, and that's going to be the new world order, and we're not going to be here for that whole tribulation deal, then Jesus is coming even sooner than that. And that's what I see. So even though we see the darkness encroaching, we were told about this over and over and over again, and even warned about it to not be deceived, because these things, they are very enticing if you don't really see what they are. Because who wouldn't love a party all the time and running around naked and all that stuff? It's attractive to the world, okay? But don't be deceived, because it's a fly trap. It's going to be all wonderful, and then you get in there, and then Satan eats you, and that's not a pretty picture. So,
well, I mean, let's look at that though, David. You bring up a very good point. Okay, so I mean, and this is like I'll probably get like 1,000 emails.
Now let's shoot for 2,000.
Okay,
What do you got?
2,000. Sex and Christians. Okay, so I personally believe that I love my wife and that she is the only person that I would ever share my body with. Okay, now
Thank God.
I didn't always live that way, right? I didn't. Carl, Brian, Audrey, did you guys always live that way? I didn't. I mean, and sometimes I think in the Christian world, we have this weird thing about sex and all that. And what we need to do is we need to tell people that, having sex, for lack of a better word, with another woman or another person, or Audrey with a man, it's a gift, and it's supposed to be respected, and I think that is what goes weird about Burning Man, is that people think that it's all about free sex. You know, Carl, how old are you?
I'm 51. Had to think about that for a
Oh,
minute.
you don't look
You're
a day over 30.
Are you kidding me? You're a young guy. Oh my God. You know, I mean, listen, I'm 60. I was raised in the 70s. My brothers and sisters were raised in the 60s. It was free sex. Whoa, 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 all that. It was wrong. I'm telling you right now, it was all wrong. We
That all
need
fit.
to come together for God. Audrey,
What's your question, Mike?
Oh,
I want you
I
to
don't,
pick
I
in
don't
on this.
disagree with you. As I said before, as a woman going to Burning Man, you are expected that's a given. Yet everywhere you go, in the porta potties and all the workshops and stuff, they have signage, even in your literature that you're given when you go through the gate, it's all about consent. So as a woman who doesn't dress in any clothes or half naked or whatever in front of a bunch of guys, it's all about consent. How does that make sense?
mhm.
And there's a lot of people that are hurt, I'll put it that way, are hurt at Burning Man and come home and regret it. So, it's all about consent. If you're drunk and you say yes, that's not consent. If you say yes, but then say no, that's not consent. Signs like that everywhere. And that's very, very apparent and very, very, I don't know the word. It's a double standard.
A dichotomy.
If you have a problem with sexual addiction or any kind of sexual deviancy and you're a Christian, don't go. Just because it's Burning Man and you think, oh, it's exciting, we're going to go to Burning Man and do all this stuff there. If you have any type of an addiction to anything, drugs, alcohol, anything, don't go. Because as Christians, we're walking into a place where, as when we got saved, those are the things we've left behind. So if you still have addictions to that or problems with that, don't go. You really have to be prepared mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally when you go. You have to know why you're going. You have to draw that, as Carl says, that moral line in the sand when you go. Know why you're going and stick to it.
That's a really good point.
Absolutely.
That ties right into the fallen watchers. I mean, what was their deal? It was all about sex and raping the women. So this is just kind of the frog in the pot, just turning the temperature up a little bit at a time to allow now. Okay, if you can have sex with anybody, then you can have sex with children, and now all of a sudden, then the demons, the demons will come in. Oh well, it's okay, it's free choice,
Well, yeah, there's workshops. There's workshops on any type of sexual deviance you can think of. There's workshops on how to do them. And you walk in there and it's as if it's just as normal as everyday life. There's no giggling, there's no shame, there's nothing. You walk in, you learn how to do whatever, and you walk out. That's what goes on at Burning Man.
Wow. David, did
Speaking
you
to
just
the
say the
aspect of
frog in the pot?
Yeah, boiling a frog. You turn up a little bit at a time.
I want to go back to Carl. I want to go to Carl.
He's got something to show us. Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, well, okay,
Hey,
whatever.
Carl.
Carl, you don't count. I mean, put it away. Carl.
What for?
Carl, I gotta ask you a question. Okay.
Sure. But first of all, Mike, before that, speaking to Audrey's point, when you come in, they do give you a brochure of what to do if you sexually assaulted, what resources are available. I mean, I don't know too many events where you go to where they hand you a pamphlet right off the bat what to do if you have a sexual assault happen to you. But the aspect of sexuality is really important there, not just because, I mean, people are there for the sex, and some are, absolutely, but also because sexuality is viewed as a method of engaging in transformation. It's the idea of if we transgress, we transform. And so here's a list of workshops from one camp called Naked Heart, and these are all in the bathroom in the porta potties. Yeah, Naked Heart. We'll figure. Naked Heart is devoted to the full embodiment of the divine feminine, the goddess essence. At our core, we all hear the essential call, echoes of ancient remembering. The way through is rarely clear. We each have begun the journey into pure self, but on different paths. Naked Heart gathers fellow travelers to share the wealth of experience. And so it is about finding, in this case, the whole workshops are built around this concept of discovering your divine feminine, the goddess essence. How do you do that? Well, I'm not going to read the list of workshops. Number one, it is a family show. But the list of workshops are, for the most part, extremely sexual in their orientation, because the understanding is that as you engage in transgressing sexual norms, you will begin as a culture, as a group, as a movement, even as an individual, to find yourself transformed.
Hey, maybe, I don't know. I mean, David, I'm like gonna pass this on to you. Maybe at Hear the Watchmen, we should have a sexual warning pamphlet that we put out. What do you think?
Yeah. It just says, don't do that. That's it.
Oh, man. So, Carl, I mean, really, the bottom line here, you got this stuff going on out there. Listen, I was young once too, a long, long time ago.
That was before dirt, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was way before dirt, dude. I'm telling you, the dinosaurs weren't born before I was. But all of this stuff. I was a searcher for most of my life. I finally came to Jesus, thank God, because of my wife. Actually, I really have to give her credit. There was no way that I would be the man that I am today without her. But what do you think all these people are searching for?
I know a lot of people are searching for healing. They're searching for meaning. When you go to the temple, and this is important, when you go to the temple and you see how people are pouring out their hearts, they're pouring out their grief, their pain, leaving notes, leaving photo albums, wedding dresses, the urns of the ashes of their loved ones, their personal journals. The temple, and by the way, the temple is a big building, okay? It's huge. And it starts off in the beginning of the week as a blank slate. There's nothing on the walls. But by the end of the week, it is loaded, and I mean loaded, with notes and writings and personal mementos as people are there pouring out their grief. This is a place where people have now come since the year 2000, seeking some healing, seeking solace, seeking some type of cathartic experience. They're looking for some way, hoping for some healing, and it reinforces the fact that in the midst of what is being lived out as a temporary utopia, the recognition that the hurts and the pains don't go away.
I think happened when I was at the temple with Carl. We were there, and there was we thought it was an opening ceremony, but actually it was a wedding, like a homosexual wedding or whatever was happening in the temple. So I wandered out, and I didn't know the bride and groom, so I wandered around and I talked to the person that
the groom and the groom.
I don't know if it was
groom, bride, groom.
You know what I'm saying? So I went out and I talked to a person that was working there. He had some badges from Burning Man, and I struck up a conversation with him, and he said to me, it's so nice to see something positive and uplifting happen in the temple, because over the years the temple's actually morphed into temple of death, right? It's where people come to leave all, really, that's what it is. The whole thing is about how you were mistreated or who died that you loved. That's what the whole temple is about. And he said it's really strange that it morphed into that, because I don't think that was their plan from the beginning. It just, they built the temple, and that's kind of what happened. So it was interesting.
The author of death. I mean, what did they expect?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, guys. I mean, here's the thing. Okay. So, Jeannie and I are like you and Brian and Audrey and Carl and David. We're all out there in front of it for Jesus, and we get attacked all the time. Jeannie and I just went through a horrendous attack that was retracted and taken away and gone off the face of the earth, which is wonderful. I mean, God did that. But it's not easy to be like Audrey and Brian. It's not easy to be like Carl. It's not easy to be like David. It's not easy to be someone who loves Christ and who steps out in front of it. Guys, I mean, Brian in particular, what do you really feel about why you serve Christ?
Well, I didn't always serve him. I was like you. I was out of control in the 70s. Burning Man. I went there for 30 years.
Hey, wait, I wasn't out of control. I was like all good, right, David?
So,
David, I was all good,
Mhm.
right?
So we've all sinned and we fall short of the glory of God. But as your life goes on, you do see the truth, and you do accept Jesus into your life, and He renews your mind and renews your values, and you get that stronger sense. You always know what's right and wrong. Everybody does. They know when they're sinning. They know it inside, but they can shut that off. We all have free choice. So over time, we I guess I just decided, hey, this isn't the right way to do things. There is a right and wrong. So I listened to that little voice. You make a choice. You get your mind renewed. You get, everything renewed. Your bad habits get dropped, right? I used to drink too much. I used to smoke. I used to do all that stuff. And now you just took all that away. Boom, gone, right? So now I can focus on what's important. Do I do it perfect? No. If you ask Audrey, I'm sure she'll tell you. But, we do the best we can.
Yeah, she sent a list over.
What do you think, Audrey? Audrey, come on.
She's got it right there.
In here. Is he
Not
perfect?
going. But that's the biggest thing, and that's what struck me in the other interview that I listened to, was really the renewing of your mind. So really, the Holy Spirit comes in and changes the way you think. It changes your perspective, and that's what's important. And that's why we're out at Burning Man, trying to change those few people that we can have contact with. And the words we say may not be what they hear. Maybe the Holy Spirit's changed the words that we said, and they hear what they need to hear. Right? Mm-hmm. But if they're not there, then nothing's going to happen. And if you can imagine, just think if 1,000 Christians went there, or 5,000 Christians went to Burning Man, the difference that it would make. What it does is it also takes away the anonymity that most people have. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's my accent. So, but really, people are there and they think no one can see them. Okay, they don't know anybody. They're never going to see these people again. They can do whatever they want, and there's no consequences. But we all know in the spiritual realm, consequences grow. But I think that's a part of Burning Man also, is that people can do whatever they want, express themselves however they want, and no one's going to know. No one's going to see them.
So I want to ask all of you, in addition to Burning Man,
Audrey. I want you to ask Audrey individually.
Audrey. I want to ask specifically Audrey. What about other parts of your ministry? Because obviously this isn't the only thing. It just happens to be where you're at this past week, and you're like highly exhausted from, and then Brian grew a great beard. So tell us about your ministry and where it goes, and how, this is just one aspect of your ministry.
Wait, no, she has something called Remnant Online Fellowship.
Ooh, tell us more.
Yeah, I'm first and foremost, I am a researcher, and because I'm a researcher, what it's done is it's led me into a community of other researchers who go to conferences from a biblical worldview. And that's where, as Mike was saying, with the RV comment there, we've been now to over 50, like it's insane, but over 50 conferences or research trips or boots on the ground types of things for Carl, by the way. And so what that has allowed me to do is, I'm not, even though I do research, I'm not a content provider. I go and I learn the other side so that I am better able to understand what's really going on in our world. So I go to conferences and see things from an audience point of view, not a content provider point of view. What I run into almost at every single thing that I go to is people searching. Again, just like at Burning Man, people are searching. When I go to conferences, people are searching. There's a remnant body that's waking up to the truth of what's really going on around us in the world today, and they want to, and to Bible prophecy. So what I do with my ministry is I put people in front of content providers who aren't afraid to talk about what's going on in the world today from a prophetic viewpoint and through the Bible. Okay, so I have a teachers page with a bunch of content providers on there. What that does is it puts you in front of information. Instead of going down the rabbit trail of YouTube all the time and just, trying to figure out who's telling the truth and who isn't, I've made a platform where you can now go and find these content providers. I have a church page because some of our content providers are pastors, and what I hear a lot is that people are leaving our churches because our churches are hijacked today with the New Age message. So I'll put you in front of their ministries, put you in front of their media, and upcoming conferences and events. So it's called remnantonlinefellowship.org. I have a Facebook page. The goal of it really is to get people to connect. So I do offer a online message board where people can go and participate, and also you can participate within the Facebook group as well.
And hey, look, folks, here's the thing. Audrey does this out of the kindness of her heart. I mean, it's not a money thing. I mean, people say to all of us, they say to you, Carl, well, I don't know about you, David, but they say they say to Carl and I all the time, oh, the word of God should be free. Well, you know what? It is.
It is.
The
But
paper isn't though.
the airplanes, the hotels, all this other stuff we do, that ain't free. If you want to pay for it, come on, pony up. I kind of want to say something right now. You look at Carl Tykrib, you look at David Paxton, and you look at Brian, who I can't pronounce his last name, but you look at
It's three parts.
Vanderklee or something like that. I don't know. But you look at the three of us, okay? Carl has an amazing wife. David has an amazing wife. And I have an amazing wife. And Brian, obviously, look at her right there, has an amazing wife. We couldn't do what we do without them. And
Absolutely.
so many
Be who I
times,
am.
yeah, and so many times we don't own up to that, But without these women behind us, and these are God's women, these are women who stand up and there are, I'm sure Carl, I'm sure your wife is, and I know that one right there next to you, Brian, is. And I know, David, how your wife ever puts up with you, I don't know. But, I know that this is what God does. God raises us all up. And Carl, God bless you for everything you're doing. You wrote a little book. I don't think it's here, but it's
Game
like
of Gods.
it's like that thick. But you know, God bless you for what you're doing, Brian.
Uh,
Yeah, there it is.
yeah,
You
he
happen
was
to
using
have a
it to hold down
copy
the
of
tent
it, right?
pegs.
You just happen to have a copy of it. You know, Brian, God bless you for everything you're doing. David, uh, my brother, God bless you. You guys are doing the real deal, and isn't that what we need to do?
Amen. So as we start to wrap things up, Carl, tell us about your book, where everybody can find it, and your website.
Yeah, sure. The book is called Game of Gods, The Temple of Man and the Age of Reenchantment, and it is a very extensive survey of cultural change, cultural transformation, written in such a way that, yes, there's a lot of detail, but it is my hope that as people read it, they recognize the signs of the times, the age that we live in, and then beyond that, to find a way that they can also become ambassadors for Christ wherever they are. That's definitely a part of the challenge, especially in the conclusion of the book. So if people are interested in ordering the book, they can check it out on Amazon. They can go to my webpage. I do have a book page, gameofgods.ca. That includes the bibliography of the book, excerpts from the book, interviews, just the different material that they can have access to. But yes, it is a big undertaking. It is a huge job. And Mike, thank you for bringing out the aspect of the women in our lives. If it wasn't for Leanne's patience, she looked at my life for 3 years and she said, "You're a soldier in a foreign field because I never saw you." And she didn't really see me much for 3 years as I was here in trying to hammer this book together and present it to everybody. So yeah, check out gameofgods.ca and get a hold of the book. And for those who have the book and who have read the book, please leave a review on Amazon. That'd be really appreciated.
Excellent. So to confirm, gameofgods.ca.
Correct.
Okay. And then remnantonlinefellowship.org. Correct?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. And that's a tremendous resource. I'm
Oh,
also
wait.
thinking maybe.
And what about hearthewatchmen.com?
Oh, is that new? What is that?
Well, I don't know. That's something brand new.
Yeah, we got Hear the Watchmen is always ours, and mine is thehiddenday.com. So that's it. Who's going to take us out?
Oh, well, I'll take us out here. I mean, again, Carl, what is your wife's name?
Leanne.
Leanne. And David, what is your wife's name?
Carmen.
Okay, Leanne, Carmen, Audrey, Jeannie, you guys are what keeps us doing what we do, and God bless us for all of you, Audrey, Brian, Carl, David. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. What an amazing time and fellowship this was today. And I thank you each. God bless each and every one of you. And Audrey, if you can put up with Brian, you can do anything.
That's right.
I do like the beard.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, I know. Isn't that beard like amazing? Oh, look at that. No, do that again. Do that again. Oh,
Nice.
Look at that. All right, you guys. God bless each and every one of you. We'll see you next time here on the Watchman's Report. Don't forget.
Government cheese.
Government cheese. You're right. Don't forget, though, guys. There is absolutely nothing that you can't do with Jesus in your heart, except nothing at all. Get out there, get busy, activate your faith, make a difference in the world. It's up to you. We'll see you next time here on Government Cheese.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was a fun show with a really interesting topic. Be sure to visit their website. Remember to go to remnantonlinefellowship.org And also go to gameofgods.ca to get your book, The Game of Gods. Remember to like and subscribe and tell all your friends about our videos as well. Bye.